So I'm going to talk about two things, visual meta and author and reader. So metadata we've talked about many times today. And I just want to clarify how I define metadata. It is something that says what data is. You know, all documents have a title. Doesn't mean the system knows it's the title. So the metadata just says this is the title. Metadata can get really messy. All kinds of ways of looking at it can go all over the place. So in this short presentation, I only want to talk about document metadata, not tapping phones and things like the government might do.
The remotes don't have your screen.
What? Am I not sharing? What happened? Is that what you said?
Yes, that was Brandel saying couldn't see the screen.
Thank you, Brandel. I love you. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to that slide then. You can see now, right? Brandel, yes? Or did he fall asleep?
Yes. That's working.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay. So just running through these, author and visual metadata is what the data is. It can get messy. That is why I'm just going to talk a little bit about document metadata. Now we're up to speed. So that is what the document is, and that can mean how the document can be used and how it's described. So what the document is inherent metadata. It is a heading in the document is the heading of the document. It has a heading. Here it is. This other stuff is appended metadata, how it can be used, legals, and all those kinds of things, and also described somebody saying this is important. I don't care about those second ones because they are expensive. And, you know, and they're fair enough, but they're just out of scope for this. So what the document is how it can be addressed. So we talked a lot about that too. That means with a normal book, you go to the library, you say, here's the title or here's the author. That's one way of addressing it. And URL is another and so on. And how it is structured, where the headings are and what data it contains. You can have a document with a graph in it that has no computational meaning because it's a JPEG. Or you can have something that can be extracted and used by anybody who can access the document. And then importantly, how it's connected, who it references and cites and links to externally and internally. Here they are. Oh, did you put your drinks in cups to hide what you're drinking?
Hadn't thought of it.
So all you've missed, guys, is the basic definition of metadata in this context, which is data that says what data is, particularly with documents. So particularly for documents, how it is connected is a huge topic, but it's not just links going out. It can also be with glossaries, how it's connected internally. You know, we could have a seminar or symposium just that. So the approach that I've taken, and there you are, Dave. It is just it's a bit embarrassing because, you know, you're my professor, but my entire PhD, which has been running over time, it's supposed to finish today, so that's an issue, actually today, is just to take the document and write at the back what it is. That's my entire PhD, and it's embarrassing to say it that quickly. So I have to put an acronym in. I put BibTeX. That's the format that we use. It could be anything. It could be literally crayons. You know, as long as it can be read by computer and person, doesn't matter. So this is what you have in the beginning of many books. This is normal printer's page. It is metadata. It says what the book is. So visual meta is just this. So that's the whole point of what I'm going to go through. There is a ton more here, but essentially it is just that. So this is a visual meta from an actual document. So you can see the type, the font is tiny because there's no point having it big. You're not going to read it very often. But if we zoom in, you can see it is exactly that, plus more stuff. Any questions on this? No? Brilliant. Fantastic. So the really important thing here is this is already in the manuscripts. Right? You save with a title and you have a name. You usually don't, unless you change computers with someone, your name will remain your name. So all of these things are there. This costs nothing. It's called export and it's done. So now we get to the demo part. There's two pieces of software, author and reader, both for macOS. They cost money. Send me an email, I'll send you code. If you're a Mac user, you get it for free, obviously. So we're going to be going through copies of citation, what I think of as being powerful views, library function a little bit, and then interactive map and glossary. the whole interactive map and glossary is very related to what Mark and Dave was talking about earlier. So copy is a citation. It is as simple as this. We open a document in the library. Oh, this is fantastic, 7 hypertext. And it's got visual meta. So let's go back and control click, copy to cite the document, go to author, paste it, and it pastes as a citation. So you click on that, you can see it's got all the citation metadata, which was in BibTeX. We export that, make sure it's the style we want, open that up into Reader, go full screen, smallest document in the world, click on the citation, and it brings that in to show you right there, which is a phenomenally powerful thing. And Mark Anderson, it was your idea. Thank you. And it was a bit quick, but what I also did, because this cited document is also my library, I could click on the title and it opened that document to the page cited. So I've been doing this for a couple of years and I'm really, really proud of that functionality, but it is just from my software to my software, and I'm not exactly Microsoft. It's a little bit limiting. And then over the last few weeks, I've come to the realization that we have BibTeX in, we can import BibTeX. That's how we do some of the resolving. How about BibTeX out? So that means that now, if you paste it into a BibTeX aware piece of software, it's formatted as BibTeX. So it means it's open for anybody working with that stuff. That's just so exciting. Because visual meta is based on BibTeX. It contains more than BibTeX. So that's why we can produce BibTeX. Sorry, to me, this is the biggest thing that's happened all summer, okay? It is, you know, as I've said many, many times, my mentor was Doug Engelbart, and because of him, I got to know Ted Nelson quite well. And Ted is an absolute genius. He invented worlds, but the problem with inventing worlds is he tends to live in them. You know, he doesn't like the import-export thing. So when I see a little thing like, holy moly, BibTeX connects with BibTeX, it's very exciting because suddenly we can work together. Right, powerful views. This is one of our future of textbooks. It's massive. So let's view it by color. So here we have the headings, and then we have color coded for the different articles. And it's based on whatever the user wants the colors to be. Super simple. It's a bit of an experiment. Also, we can select text and we can do Command F to see all the occurrences in the document. That can be useful. And we can do things like see only the names. We always retain the headings because they are the context. And then now we're seeing all the glossary terms. Glossaries, I think, are really, really important because that is the author's way of saying these things are important. So here you can see where they are on the document. Hello, Olivia, that's you. So now I'm going to show you briefly folding and navigation. So folding a document is my fancy way of showing an outline. It's the same font for the heading as in the outline. That's really important. It's sculptural rather than off to the side. But also what I'm doing now, you can do right. This was too fast. Let's go back. So that's the folding, just to instantly go in and out of, folding the document. But the other thing you can do, right and left arrow keys goes page by page. But these books are like 800 pages long. And some of the articles are very big. So if you do arrow key down, it goes to the next level 1 heading. We've been experimenting a lot. And Fabian made me do a whole wall of first pages of articles, just to see what is the best way to find out where to go inside it. And we realized we already have that. All we needed was the navigation mechanism through which we can see those. So we built a basic library into Reader. And yes, I'm selling features of my software, but the reason I want to show you that is this is based on visual meta. So it isn't any fancy behind the scenes like reference managers going off and getting stuff. All of these documents know what they are, plus one thing. And that is if you open a document and highlight something, when you search, it'll also, as you can see at the top there and there, it searches for things you've highlighted in the document. So in this case, the word hypertext was highlighted in Mark and Dave's article. That, to me, as a student, is huge because often, I'll annotate stuff. Why? I can never find it again. Right here, I can find it again. So a different aspect now, this is the map of defined concept. So this is something, I'm sorry, Mark and Dave, you're getting very heavily referenced, but when you explain that there's hypertext as a tool for thought and hypertext for knowledge representation, that allowed this to breathe a lot more. And I'll show you all why. So what we do here, we select Hamilton, why not? Control click, define concepts, and we just write, he's great, all of that stuff. The musical is great. Then we click on map at the bottom of the screen, and there's Hamilton with all kinds of things. You can choose whatever name you want for this map. I just call it basic map. And nothing is selected. No lines are visible until you select. And when you select and point to a line, you can see why it's there. Same dialog box, you can see why the connections are there, right? So here, Doug has been tagged as a person, and that is why he's in italic. It's supposed to look like a signature. So it's a little bit of a visual cue. So if you keyboard select all the stuff of one category to hide them and then bring them back again, they're selected, you can manipulate. This bit is just to remind you that if all the lines are showed all the time, it becomes a complete mess. So that is hypertext as a tool for thought. And now that we're done, we're going to turn it into the venerated PDF. And now it becomes a glossary. So from defined concepts to glossary, because now we're reading, and a glossary is a completely different thing. So here we are, we're in the PDF, we select Hamilton, and we do search the document. These are all the occurrences as before. On the top, you have the definition. And you can click on any of the bold words to jump to them in the document. So you have conceptually the same mapping. You just don't have my crazy layout because it's actually useless. That layout works for me, but not for anyone else. Just want to show you that again from a different way. Select PDF, Command F to find in document, and you can see here it is on top. Click on these different things and have fun. But it can also do Command Shift F, find in library. So it searches all the document for that text. Come on, that's pretty cool. It's new, so to me, it's the coolest thing we have. And of course, a little AI. And AI can do amazing things. There's so many different AIs. And Les Carr, my main advisor, supposedly, he says it shouldn't be called artificial intelligence, but advanced IT. And he's right. It's just a package of so many different things. So all we've done here, select text, even if it's badly done, control click, summarize in a sentence, and you can write your own prompts, and it gives it to you. How to actually use this is quite a challenge because it's not so quick and easy, and all of them start with something like this article says. All just reading that is a waste of time. You know it's an article, and you know that. To get the prompts around that is a challenge. So going towards the end, issues that we're dealing with now. So this is stuff we just don't know. One of them is as simple as color. As we were talking about earlier, humans don't often stare a lot, so to looking at text for a long time can be a bit of a stress. That's normal view. Some of these lines now have been selected and highlighted. You can see a faint gray. Point is to not interfere too much. So we have a command already that hides everything in the document except for what is bold and headings. This one also keeps what has been highlighted. So for my eyes, this works while working on a long document. I can see these 3 paragraphs. These are the things that I want to highlight for myself. Key is when I export this document, this is not included. So I don't have to worry about reformatting and all of that stuff, right? This has not been implemented yet. And also things we're looking at is the color. This is the normal view. This is the warm view. And by testing this, it's literally just staring at the screen for a while and then asking different people to do the same. This is a warm dark mode. This is the not warm dark mode. And we're looking maybe to lighten that a bit and then maybe go really, really warm on this one. It looks kind of stupid, but when you actually have it in your screen and it's a big one, the orange tends to mellow down a little bit, becomes useful. And this is the other of the 2 issues. So graphs are great. And once you're going to have a huge graph in your room that I'm hoping we start having an issue of nesting graphs somehow, and how that's going to be visual. And I'm an intensely visual person, meaning I don't want too much screen junk. So I'm wondering about simple things like maybe the word affordances. I put little hard brackets on the side, and that's maybe enough to say, click on that, and it opens something else. I don't know. I don't want to just have blue underlined links on here that already have their ideas. This is the kind of stuff that is detail, but I think it's important for us to talk about it because whatever will be used forever, right? In closing, that was author and reader. going to have a little bit look at ideas for Reader in XR. This is obviously a complete fake mock-up. So there's Reader, the little R, right? So the first thing we found, I'm not sure if Adam Byrne is still here, but one of our Future of Text Lab, the people here who meet every Monday, Swedish guy, very clever. He also does some XR work. And one of the things he started playing with was just reading in a VR space. And then he locked the document to your view, so it's not in the room. And he found that was really comfortable. You can lie back and you can read. So when people say you're not going to be reading in VR, I think that's absolute nonsense. You know, in 1 or 2 generations of headsets, we will. And this is really easy. Apple has already let me do this. When the headset comes out, this will work. But what about if I want to have a graph behind it? You know, that, and how would I pull that in and out when I need it? Maybe sometimes it helps me think, maybe sometimes it doesn't. Also, and this is why it's so important to talk about dreaming, because this looks very rudimental and simple. But in terms of what Apple and other developers give me, what are these? Are they windows or documents? Will the system allow me to have 3 documents like this, that one's like this? And if it does, what are the, you know, how can I move them? You know, is it a grabbing? Is it a pinching? Super simple stuff. But if we together don't look at it, these big companies are going to decide how it is. And here's one with even more stuff around it. So I want to say thank you. I wasn't planning to go last, but since I did go last, I want to say thank you again for being here. It's been amazing. Now we're going to have some alcohol and then some dinner for the ones who can. Thank you very much, everybody. But no wine before questions.
Thank you very much. This is Leon. I have a question about this visual meta. This solves a big problem, a very old problem actually, what people have in the web browser or in even a text editor. For example, large documents were sort of like limited to Control F or Command F, and this is the only tool we sort of have. And this is, for me, if I look at this visual meta, it would be great to sort of copy paste it. Like if I have a text version of a PDF document or a HTML version, if I could just copy paste it into the comment section of a HTML document or in the bottom of the text file, like in theory, we could sort of do the same outside of Reader. Is that something you were also envisioning, that this is just a sort of like example of how this could be used?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going, oh, that's disconnected. Okay. I'm just going to, yeah, I'm just going to turn this. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, this is, and you know, thank you for your very leading question, obviously. This is just an approach, and it comes from playing video games and reading an interview in Edge magazine many years ago. Haven't been able to find it, which goes back to the issue of citing. A developer, he was talking about the fact that it's a huge open world game and it's amazing. You can do this and that and so on. And they talked about the AI even back then. And he said, AI, it's not that difficult to make the other players smart. What we need to do is make the environment be aware of what it is and be able to communicate that. Use the example of a piece of wood. Piece of wood will have to know how heavy it is, if it's transparent, how much damage to break it, can it be set on fire, can be picked up, all these things, right? So once every object and environment knows what it is and can communicate this, you can do what the hell you want. Well, you can drive a tank through the building, you can fly it, you can do all these things. But what we're missing in our work environments is that things don't know what they are. So yes, you're completely right. Anything should be able to have this. And when it comes to XR, one of the notions we have is to have an appendix to the appendix that is temporary. So if you take this document into whoever's room and you do all kinds of things and all the elements, a picture here, 3D, whatever, and then you leave, it writes another appendix describing the scene. And I think this is where what you're working on will be amazing, to write that in the back. Because all it needs to say, here is Leon's way of looking at the world in 3D, right? It has to say who it's referring to or what system. So then any other system that can read that, it opens up and everything is in the right space. So it shouldn't matter what it is. And of course, this also goes with images. We were talking about hypermedia and how you can't just link text. You can also, should be able to link images. We used to have image maps, right? And image maps were amazing until they were killed because of whatever. But why not have the entire image map hidden in the file name, right? No, you don't even need EXIF. So that's one way of writing at the back of the envelope, so to speak. So just say what things are, and we'll know how to deal with it. One more question, and then you get one. Come on, anybody but Dave can ask one question. Okay, well, okay, Fabian.
It might be an annoying one in the sense that, well, first it makes sense to me, and in the perspective of having the edit button there on the table, I want the table to know what it is and be able to then build on top of that. So it makes perfect sense to me. And yet, in a, let's say, a hacker mindset, things are what they are and infinitely more. Okay, I can use the table for what it is, but I can use it, I can flip it around and use it to juggle what I'm doing, what it is. So it's not, yeah. I think there is part of it that's, I don't know, it's delegated to the user and is their own creativity, and it could be, yeah. I don't know how that works.
I can tell you the answer to that is we don't need to know how it works because it won't be the same everywhere. You will want to be going into environments where you have no control. Like at the pass control at the airport, passport, in physical life, you should have very little control, right? There will be virtual equivalents of that where you should have very little control. So there will be different, the virtual world isn't a headset, and that's what it's so nice to hear from the different discussions. It'll be entirely different things in entirely different settings. And here, this is not a VR conference, of course, it's the future of text. The idea that really struck me when I did the first future of text book was text isn't a thing. Talk about the future of text is quite stupid. There will be future of text in poetry, future of text in academia. There's so many different types of text. Same with VR. But within this community, I hope that we can work more on work in XR, which will be partly with text and partly with other things. But we have to define the thing. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. And I will now sign up.